Another thing that is certainly worth mentioning, although it was of no economic use, hasn't really been discussed so far, was music. Again, Spain was the channel for this, and it received its great boost with this famous fashionable person, almost the Beau Brummel of his age, Ziryab, who came from Cordoba. No, he came from Baghdad and died in Cordoba in 857. And through Ziryab and his pupils, very sophisticated instruments for the first time become widespread in Europe. This is his name. I take it it's a Persian name. I don't know what it means. So we find most obviously the lute. The English word lute simply comes from the Arabic word al-oud, which even today is the standard Arabic word for the instrument. We find types of flutes introduced into Europe for the first time. We find a great range of drums. And the minstrels and the troubadours who radiated out from medieval Provence were largely drawing on the very sophisticated folk musical traditions of Spain. It was easy for troubadours and minstrels to cross this iron curtain between Christendom and Islam, to perform one day in a Christian court and then travel and perform in a Muslim court. And they were a great instrument of cultural osmosis again. In fact, in English, one of our most popular rural traditions is the famous Morris dances. I don't know if you've been to England and seen these usually rather soppy but half-drunk figures dressed in white with bells around their arms and legs, sort of jumping about, hitting sticks, and generally looking a little bit absurd.
We have them at high school.
You have them? Okay. Well, you'll be fascinated to learn that Morris dancers are actually Moorish dancers. That's the origin of the word. And the traditions, as you'd expect, have been greatly transformed over the ages and through the process of migration from Spain to England. But scholars accept that that's the origin of this type of dance. Troubadours as well, the word is said to come from an Arabic root meaning delight, usually applied to delight inspired by musical performance. And one of the things these troubadours did was to introduce new poetic forms into Europe through song. Generally, Roman poetry had a fairly simple system of rhythm and didn't bother with rhyme. For the first time in the 13th and 14th century in Europe, we start to find the consistent use of rhyming in poetry. We also find types of strophic poetry, hitherto unknown in Europe, and it's thought, although obviously these things are oral traditions and can't be definitively documented, that they come from Muslim Spain. Also, prosodic forms in popular culture, something called the villancico, which is still quite widespread in Spanish rural society, is an almost exact carrying over into a Romance language of an Arabic poetic form known as the zajal, which was actually developed by the Muslims of Spain. It wasn't something they brought with them. Arabic literature flourished and was most innovative in Muslim Spain.